Jeet yet? Jeet yet? What did I just say? If you know I said, did you eat yet? Great job. But if you struggle to understand native spoken English, pay attention because this is an important lesson. Many English learners think that the reason they don't understand, let's say, fast spoken English is because it's fast. The reason they don't understand native English speakers is because they're all just talking too quickly. This is not the main reason. There are several reasons. One of the main ones is that when native English speakers talk, they kind of mush sounds together. Sounds are connected together, linked together. So it's hard to tell one word from the next. But that doesn't mean that it's fast. It can be slow or fast. And the interesting thing is that this is not just about listening. This is listening and pronunciation together. Because if you can figure out how to really understand what people are saying, figuring out how to pronounce things more clearly almost happens naturally. So I'm going to teach you a method for doing this, but let me just give you a couple more examples. You've probably heard I dunno instead of I don't know. Have you heard I don't know? This is not just blending sounds together. Sometimes it's completely different sounds. I don't know. And that's how many American native English speakers are going to say, I don't know. So you can't just say, okay, let's break apart all of the words and then see how, no. Sometimes it's just completely different. What you have to do is change the way you think about meaning, words, and sounds. What do I mean by that? Well, if you say words equal meaning, I learn words, I memorize words, I remember words, and I know what they mean, right? And then when I'm talking to people, I listen for words that people say. If you do that, the problem is that you're going to be missing something very important, which is these chunks that have meaning on their own. And it doesn't really matter that, okay, this is 3 words. It actually means I don't know. It actually means did you eat yet? That's less important than just knowing that Jeet yet and I don't know both mean something. Those chunks both mean something. So I want you to break this idea of only words together make up meaning and instead just think sounds mean things. And when you're listening to people, when you're paying attention to what others are saying, when you're trying to figure out what people are saying, native English speakers are saying, I want you to put aside that idea. I want you to just kind of go with the flow. And if you don't understand something, say, what does that mean? And when you learn it, if you want to try to say it yourself, don't worry about what all the words are. Instead, just pay attention to what your ears hear. Now, this is where listening and pronunciation come together. Because with pronunciation, many English learners do the same thing. I need to know how to say this word and this word and this word and this word, which often leads to very choppy, broken speech. And that's because maybe you're learning pronunciation from a dictionary where you click on the word and it plays the sound, or you're reading the phonetic symbol. Again, the problem is if you say everything is about the words, you're going to be missing something important, which is focusing on the sounds that your ears hear. When you make everything about just what your ears hear, then all of the pressure to understand people goes to your ears, right? Your ability to tune into noises, which then naturally leads you to, because you're paying attention to those noises, to be able to then imitate those noises yourself. This is how children learn language. This is how you learned your first language. It's ear first. Little babies, they hear adults around them making noises. They don't know how to break things apart. They don't know what things are individual words. They just figure out by listening what sounds mean what things and then imitate those sounds until it gets closer and closer to the correct pronunciation. That is how babies learn language. That's how kids learn their first language. And that's the exact correct way for you, if you're struggling with understanding and pronunciation, to learn English naturally. Focus on what you hear and don't judge too much what you hear. When you're working on pronunciation, really try to pay attention to the difference between the sound that you hear and the sound that you make. I'm going to go next door. 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 Well, if you really listen to that, there's no T. So if you say next door, it's broken and now it sounds a little bit choppy. It's correct, but is it natural? Well, actually, most people are going to say next door, next door. Actually, the T isn't really there at all. And instead of saying I'm going to go or even I'm gonna go, you'll often hear I'm gonna. Is that what I hear? Listen carefully. I hear I'm gonna. What is I'm gonna? I have no idea what I'm gonna is, but from the context, I can figure out by tuning my ears that this means that I'm going to go next door. But when I say it, I'm going to try to learn it naturally. So can I say I'm going to go next door, I'm going to go next door, I'm going to go next door, I'm going to go next door? Even if it's fast or slow, it's still blended together, right? It's not about speed, because I could say I'm going to go next door if I'm a slow talker. It's still smushed together. This takes practice, it takes self-awareness, and really it's the shadowing technique. Shadowing is a great method for improving both listening and pronunciation. The core of it, the core skill, is your ability to really listen with an open mind to sounds, for the understanding part to then connect those sounds to meaning without judging it too much, and for the pronunciation part to not force things in there that you're not hearing. If you really want to learn that natural pronunciation, don't say, well, there has to be a t, a next. Where's the T? There doesn't have to be a t. People say what they say. What are your ears telling you? And then when you try to say it, does it sound the same or not? Be honest. Your ears are the ultimate tools to improve, obviously, listening comprehension, but also pronunciation. Also, if you're working on reducing your accent. So just to recap, if you struggle to understand native English speakers, especially when they're speaking quickly, maybe it's not about speed. Maybe it's because things are all smushed together, blended together, and sounds are missing. And if you struggle with your accent and you wish it could change, maybe it's because you're focusing too much on individual words. And if you instead use the shadowing technique to pay attention to sounds and connect sounds to meaning, pay attention to sounds and try to imitate sounds without judging the sounds based on exactly what you hear, tuning your ears, refining your ears, you will improve both. It's a very powerful technique. If you want to practice pronunciation through shadowing, one of the 5 courses of my 90-day program is completely focused on accent reduction through practice and shadowing, repeating after me. And then you can practice what you learn and get feedback from a custom AI that can actually hear what you're saying and give you really accurate feedback on how to improve. Now, this is a fairly intensive program. There are 4 other courses. There's AI feedback throughout. You have my WhatsApp, and at the end, if you're not satisfied with your progress, you can get a full refund. So check that out in the links in the description. Let me know how your shadowing goes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.